Hello, everybody. This is Hondo Carpenter, your Las Vegas Raiders beat writer on SI and the host of the Las Vegas Raiders Insider Podcast. Thrilled today. It's Friday. You're not used to seeing this guy on Friday, but he's here a day early, the one and only, the great Jonathan Shop, terrific journalist, decorated journalist, and a highly successful attorney in the Atlanta Buckhead area that joins us each and every week to go around the NFL. John, great to have you on, buddy.
Always fun. And boy, does the season go quickly in the NFL. It goes really fast from preseason game 1 to game 3, 4, 5 when people are like, our season's over, we got a shot, etc. So you could say it's early season, these things don't matter that much. I say they matter a lot, and I know Raider fans feel like they matter a lot, and they know they're in a tough spot in their schedule right as we speak.
So I want to talk Raiders with you first. We always start with Raiders. Brady in the box. I'm going to tell you this. I have no problem with it because it's the NFL's allowing it. But I'm talking to NFL executives, of which you've been a friend of me for nearly 2 decades. You know I know a lot of them. And I talked about this on yesterday's podcast on Thursday, but like one executive said to me, Deflategate, the stealing of signs, he comes from an organization that's not exactly perceived as integrous, whether they are or not. I'm not attacking anyone's integrity. He said perceived, but the Deflategate issues, the suspension, he said, this is a person that wants everything to be copacetic when it hasn't always been copacetic. And he goes, now you're up there, see him in the booth, and he goes, and he's like, ha, the NFL's allowing it. I want to make it clear. It's a nothing burger to me because I don't think these teams are going to give him anything anyways. In fact, I talked with one executive that said, I told my team, you will, when you speak to him, treat him as if everything you tell him is going right back to the Raiders. And he said to me, this executive, he goes, I think it's going to hurt its broadcasting because nobody's going to give him anything. I'd love your perspective on this.
From a broadcasting perspective, whoever told you that, I believe they've got to be correct because there's no interest, there's no benefit for any NFL team giving Brady some of those nuggets. Sometimes we hear those during the game and you hear Aikman or you've heard Phil Simms say, we talked about that a little bit during the week. You know what you're listening for. So broadcasting wise, I don't think it helps him or helps Fox at all. If you just take the basic right versus wrong, looks good versus look bad, it just doesn't look good. I don't know why the NFL is doing this. I don't know if they're trying to look like they're doing a favor to the Raiders. There's nothing but an appearance of potential impropriety. And yes, in this case, history absolutely does matter. Benefit of the doubt doesn't exist for Tom Brady because of the organization he was with, because of the taping scandal, the ball scandal, and who else knows what else. It doesn't exist. So he already doesn't have the benefit of the doubt. It looks like a conflict, a natural conflict. Nobody else has done this before. Al Davis wasn't in the booth. I don't think that we're going to see a time where any other owner is in a booth. I just don't think it's the right thing to do, and I don't think it's necessary. Now, there's not an elephant in the room. There's a humongous industry in the room that's on the TV every 5 seconds with advertising, and that is, of course, the gambling. Gambling on the phone, gambling apps is legal in a whole lot of the country. That creates a problem. That's why this has to be looked at into a different situation. This isn't Jim Irsay, the late great Jim Irsay, or this isn't Wayne Huizenga, also late great owner, popping in the booth for just some basic chit chat. This is literally a guy that played at the highest point of the game, a guy that's there to provide as good a color commentary as he can, and it doesn't look good. It just doesn't look good. I don't think it's necessary. I kind of wonder if they put him up on the screen there Monday night just to try to move the thing along. I don't know if this is an ESPN versus Fox thing, but let's be honest. And I got this one wrong. I thought they were going to say, look, you can be an owner or a broadcaster. You can't be both. I don't see any benefit for the broadcasting. I don't see any benefit for the NFL. All I see is a potential downside. And usually the NFL does a lot to eliminate those. Let's see what they do from here. There's multiple parties involved, but I just don't see why this is a good idea.
It's fascinating to me. I've got to tell you, I had one other person tell me who works at a major network that ESPN is going to go at this as much as they can to try to cause to feed the controversy because obviously he's at Fox. Um, I just One person said to me, "Well, it doesn't do anything to hurt the Raiders. It only hurts the NFL and hurts Tom." And I agree. That's why to me it's a nothing burger when you approach it from a Raiders standpoint. But
Yep.
I just think this is interesting. All right, I was very outspoken when Caleb Williams came out that I was not a fan. I think he's going to be a bust. I've never been. I don't hate the kid at all. This isn't anything to do with him personally. Every single NFL executive who has a proven track record in this league was scared of him, didn't want anything to do with him. I even made a comment that one of them, who I think is elite at picking quarterbacks, told me I wouldn't take him as a UDFA. So let's go back. When Ben Johnson was being looked at by the Raiders, I put a story out about an NFL executive telling me the Raiders dodged a bullet when he didn't come here because he's a lot like Josh McDaniels. Great guy, great offensive mind, not going to be a great head coach. Then all of a sudden, we're asking ourselves, are the Bears learning how to practice? John, what is going on in Chi-Town?
Headline this week, Ben Johnson saying that his Bears are not up to a championship caliber practice effort yet. Here's what this is in reality. It's a direct shot at the leaders of the team, which you assume Caleb Williams has to be one of, and it's potentially going to create a divide. This is a weird move for a young head coach to make so soon. I don't think we're going to see Ben Johnson go up in flames and explode like the unbelievable coaching job at the Broncos before Sean Payton got there. But this is now all of a sudden on the map, right? It's on the map. So let's take the Caleb Williams off field. I want to be paid as an LLC. Let's take all that stuff and put it to the side. And if you talk about a football analysis of the quarterback, people would tell you there's some issues with the guy doesn't know how to take snaps under center. He's got some issues before the ball is snapped. He's got some issues in recognition. He's got some pro-style issues. And we don't think he can get up to speed on the job training at the NFL level when there's professional guys looking to nail him, get the ball out, tackles for loss, etc. We have that now, and we hear this from Ben Johnson about the team not practicing at a championship caliber. First thing that comes to my mind is he probably saw Hard Knocks last year because you saw a lot of that amongst their roster. Certainly not all 53. This does remind me of McDaniels. Ben Johnson should know the story of Josh McDaniels, the very fast start in Denver, and then the whatever was going on in the building, and the thing goes up in flames quickly. I've seen him already referred to as McDaniels Jr. online. That may be jumping the gun a bit. But I take this as something that should not come up after the regular season has started. I don't know why Johnson would put this out in public. I don't know why McDaniels would put this out in public. But somebody ought to ask Josh McDaniels if they have access to him in New England. Hey, what do you think about this? What's the upside of this? I don't see any. If you're going to light a fire under these guys, you're going to do it through the media? I now put the Bears season in some more peril than it was before the week started. I don't know why Johnson did this. And even if there's a short-term gain, we will be watching to see if there is any long-term. Now, Dano, as in Dan Orlovsky, said, hey, everybody, let's pump the brakes and give him some more time. And we talked about this a little bit last week because it's not to give him 20 starts because he's got a different head coach. So maybe you extend that a little bit. And I think it's reasonable to say we're going to give Williams until something like 12 starts this year to have an idea of whether he's the guy or not. But now you've got this different angle, this different curveball. Is this the start of Ben Johnson having a rough time learning on the job, or is this as big a mistake as he's going to make? I know this for pretty certain. Who is going to help Ben Johnson? Not the people he used to work for in Detroit. They're competing with him. Who else is going to help? I hope he's got some good advisors that he's talking to, but all of a sudden, it seems like the Bears are in for a little more of a choppy ride, and I think we'll see more TV cameras on Ben Johnson and more cuts to Ben Johnson for at least the next month.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you this. They are married to Ben Johnson financially, so he's not going anywhere. I mean, at the bare minimum, he gets 2 years. And talking to NFL people, they think he's going to get 3. Just they're married to him. This
Yeah,
is
I mean,
where
he could have a lot of success too. It's not like he can't have success. This is just a strange thing to call your team out for not knowing how to practice at a championship caliber when they haven't played anywhere near a championship caliber in recent years. And I don't know the upside of calling them out during, after a couple of games.
Do you remember Marty Morningwig became the head coach of the Detroit Lions? And one day he gets mad and cancels practice and jumps on his motorcycle and leaves. So someone within the Lions organization texted me after Ben Johnson called out his team and said they don't know how to practice. And he said, Morningwig moment, question mark.
The interesting thing about that is people may not know Marty Morningwig was super highly touted as what should have been an expectation that he was going to be a good pro NFL head coach. And it did not work for many reasons. But when you talk about the promotion that Ben Johnson had going into this, it was there for a reason. And I'm not trying to pick on him, but when you look at the maturity level of a head coach, of how this has been handled so far, we are going to compare Pete Carroll and Ben Johnson for a long time. It's just the natural. You're going to compare everybody that was hired in this cycle, and it's a confusing thing that Johnson would go that way early. And I'm not trying to knock Marty Morningwig, but nobody in their first year as an NFL coach wants to be compared to Marty Morningwig.
And here's the other thing, though, that sits awkward with me is I say this every year and people get mad at me. There are certain teams, especially, you don't go hire an unproven head coach. I think the Raiders are one of the elite franchises. Okay? I think you could make an argument for the Bears in there. Okay? They travel well, they're big following, they've won a bunch of championships. This is why. Listen, go to Jacksonville. Go to Carolina. Go to any number. I could give you a bunch of places. And you go there and you can go learn how to be a coach there. But there are certain franchises, because when you get a guy who's never been a head coach, I don't care how good of a coordinator you were. I don't care. Listen, Patrick Graham is my friend. Patrick Graham is an elite defensive coordinator. Patrick Graham should be a head coach in the National Football League. Okay? But if I own the Raiders, I'm not hiring Patrick Graham. I'm going to go get a Pete Carroll, because these franchises aren't supposed to do this. And when you hire a coordinator, there's going to be this. It is the natural cycle. It's like, if you don't want to deal with potty on the floor, don't get a puppy. Go buy an adult dog that's already potty trained. And now you're going to have one longer than the other. And you know what? You go get for every John Madden, and everyone says, but what about Madden? Okay, agreed. But for every Madden, there's 1,000 Josh McDaniels.
Yeah, I wonder what that ratio is. I got to think it's something close to 10-1 at least.
At least.
I mean, it's a wide ratio. And yeah, you would think, now there's some thought out there that the reason that Ben Johnson got that job is that he sold the Bears, that he knew how to fix Caleb Williams, or how to get him to play at a level that was going to be worthy of the number one pick, and try to put him in position to win some conference championships, etc. So you can understand that somebody bought that argument. We haven't seen, the Bears have a big history, and they probably have a big future with the whole Bear City or whatever they're gonna build, and out there in Arlington with the whole community, kind of like the Battery in Atlanta that everybody's trying to copy, including the Chiefs, including the Baltimore Orioles, including a bunch of football teams, all that stuff that we see, right? But I would agree with you, although obviously we don't own the team or buy the tickets. There are some franchises that you don't think an on-the-job guy is going to work, and if so, you got to make sure that it's going to hit. So the idea of a Patrick Graham, if I have a head coach that ends up grooming the guy to take over with him, I'd be more open to that than just going out and trying to find hot coordinator of the minute, because we'd have to look at it. But I mean, how many of those guys hit? And what I mean is they end up winning a division, they end up winning a playoff game or getting that playoff bye. It's probably something like 1 out of 10. Those odds are poor. I don't know if I'm the Bears what's going to happen next, but I know that they are, like you said, married to Johnson. They are tied to Williams, and they got to come up with something to show some forward momentum sooner than later, or they're going to be one of those teams that risks the season going off of the rails before all of the leaves have fallen.
Left field story of the week. Raider fans are going to love this because of that rivalry. Chiefs missed the mark.
They do miss the mark. So Rashid Rice is suspended. He's suspended for very, very negligent, irresponsible, and reckless vehicular conduct. And I can say that because I've seen the tape of the crash. A lot of people know the story. Suspension, very large injury settlement, etc. They run around on the field with T-shirts that say "Free for Rice." So maybe their idea is right in that they want to support their guy, their friend, their teammate. You can probably do that, but it's insensitive at best to run out there with the T-shirt for a guy that caused that kind of damage, that kind of crime, that kind of probation, 30 days in jail, all that stuff. It's not right. It's a rare misstep for an organization or a group of players that doesn't misstep very much. My guess is that they got the message from the guys that own the team that this was not a good idea. So there's a way to be supportive, and even just some kind of a tweak to the T-shirts that the Chiefs ran out in would have been better received. They missed the mark. The Chiefs got it wrong. They take a little hit, a publicity hit. For those that don't like the Chiefs, they're going to stack on this, and this is something for them to lean on. And to be honest with you, yeah, it looks like the Chiefs made a rare mistake this time.
So I've not been a Mike McDaniels fan. I think he's an offensive juggernaut. As good as Ben Johnson, and I think he's an offensive juggernaut. Personality-wise, I couldn't work with him, but I find him highly entertaining, so this is not an attack. But the Dolphins are collapsing. Another guy, the coordinator, learning how to be a coach. The definite appearance is a lack of discipline. In my opinion, his NFL career is a dead career walking. But tell me, this is what it sounds like when Dolphins cry.
This is what it sounds like. And we all know what happened Thursday night also. We all know what's been growing here. So many folks out there saw Hard Knocks in season with the Dolphins. They saw this as a different cat, a different organization. They're calling the guy Mike. It's really kind of weird. Tyreek Hill is all over the place. So I understand that he's in a situation he doesn't have all the control over. But it looks like the GM's getting fired, the coach is getting fired, and quite frankly, the owner ought to probably be fired. The Dolphins look like a total mess. They look like a total mess. Let's contrast. They're going into that playoff game in Kansas City, freezing their tail off, people getting frostbite. Remember, folks, they had to go find people off the street. Not Mike McDaniel's fault. That's how injured they were. But that was the peak, and we are now looking at the very bottom coming up in Miami. I don't see any way Mike McDaniel is going to be revived as a head coach at this point in time. But, you know, way back when, somebody might have said the same about Lane Kiffin, and McDaniel's pretty young. But the Dolphins have so many problems. They have so many problems, including a quarterback that is extraordinarily fragile at this point. A star player who, again, I'm not sure he's going to be playing on December 1st with everything else he's got going on. Of all the guys to kind of steady the ship and tighten it up and keep it even keel, McDaniel is not built that way. He seems more built to ride with the roller coaster and have a lot of highs and try to circle around with the lows. It looks like a total mess in Miami, a total mess, and practically a total start over again. Where does this go? Dolphins. This is what it looks like when Dolphins cry, and I don't think it's going to get any better. Hello, very high draft pick.
All right, so let me ask you this question. Somebody who I greatly respect, who you know I have a strong relationship with, said this to me. He said, what do you think of McDaniels gets fired, the team tanks, They've got a great draft pick and a very high QB class. Then you go get Kirby Smart from Georgia, who a lot of people think he's tired of the NAL and tired of it all. Go get Kirby. This is a guy who's got head coaching experience, elite head coaching experience. There's an adjustment to the NFL, but at least you're getting head coach. And you get to sell him on South Florida, which that's not a sell on me. I don't want to live in South Florida. I can't handle the humidity. I love the desert because there's no humidity. But you can sell him on South Florida. He's got a high pick to go get his quarterback. Let Tua go. What would you say of Kirby Smart ending up in Miami?
Yeah, I'd say it's a great time to consider something like that. And obviously, his top mentor at a coaching level is Nick Saban, who's got plenty to advise him on that specific issue, doesn't he? Especially that specific town. If you're Kirby Smart, you're kind of being asked to kind of coach pro football, kind of coach college. Who's got tolerance for that? Well, at the college basketball level, not a lot of guys. They said, I'm out. I'm done. This sucks so bad. I quit. I retire. I'm going to the NBA. Whatever. I'm out. We haven't seen as much of that in college yet. We've seen Dabo Swinney. Quite frankly, we talked about it right here for the longtime listeners. Dabo Swinney should have left. He should have either taken some time off at Clemson or gone ahead to the NFL. He didn't. I don't know if that opportunity is coming for him. If you're Kirby Smart, this is a perfect time to think about that. And I don't think you want to dip into the NFL unless you know the situation you're getting into and unless you have that key piece secured. It's not just that you have a quarterback, it's that you have one that you are going to go ahead and be a part of selecting. Ben Johnson was not part of selecting Caleb Williams. I'm not saying he wouldn't have drafted him. I'm saying he inherited him. If somebody like Smart goes to take over the Dolphins and start with a clean slate, part of that clean slate is going to be having the opportunity to get a quarterback or two that they want to evaluate and go ahead and start with. This is not the worst way at all to come into the NFL. And if you're smart and you're already dealing with enough pro issues and you're maybe sick of dealing with teenagers trying to shake you down, feel you out, what's the difference? Wouldn't you rather go to a better version of pro football? I think a lot of coaches will. It'll be interesting to see what Smart does. It's not a bad idea. It's something we're going to park in the back of our minds as we watch. Hey, look, they may do a lot of great things. Who knows? The Dolphins may run the table from here. I think it's more likely that the table is going to run them.
Right. So we have such a growing audience. Each and every week, John selects the 4 best games. We call them the fearsome foursome, and we battle against each other. Sometimes we have an extra point game, a 5th game, but again, it's usually 4. And the first week we tied. The second week, last week, I won the week. So for the season, I'm up +1. So, John, let's go over our 4 games this week.
Here we go. And we are going to pull an extra point, actually. I think we're going to pull one. Obviously, the Lions and Ravens. Why? Look at the schedule. Look at the records. Look who needs it. I think the Ravens need this one. I am ready to go up the hill with the Ravens and fall down it. I'm putting the flag in for Baltimore. This is the last piece of benefit I'm giving the Ravens. If something goes really bad this weekend for the Ravens, look out. But I don't think so. I got to go with the Ravens one more time. They must defend. And forevermore, this is the Ravens pick for me.
Before I answer this, I need to tell you a couple things. I think the Lions are going to win. But here is the deal. I love John Harbaugh. I think John Harbaugh is a really good coach. So what I'm about to say is not a reflection on John. But I think he is awfully close to losing his job. I told you this before. This is not being discussed anywhere. I'm not guessing this. I'm hearing from people that I trust. I don't understand it. I'm a John fan, but I have a lot more faith in the Lions organization than I do the Ravens right now, and I'm going with the Lions.
Going with the Lions on the road. We're going to keep close eyes on that ball game.
Wait, you just took the Lions on the road too?
No, I'm taking the Ravens. I'm putting my flag in one more time for the Ravens. One more time for the Ravens. Now, all of a sudden, this division is serious, isn't it? All of a sudden, this division seems open, more open than expected, with the issues with the Chiefs, with the injury, with the Rice issue. We got Broncos at Chargers. This one matters. They both know how much it matters. The Chargers are obviously going well. Their defense looked pretty tight. But I like a little chip on the shoulder of the Broncos. I'm going wild card. This is the wild card I'm pulling. Broncos upset the Chargers.
My wild card was the Lions. I'm riding Chargers right here. They're good. They're really good.
We talked about it. Caleb Williams at home. Cowboys at Bears. The downside for the Bears is large with this one. How much of a downside do the Cowboys have? I don't know. I do know Jeremiah Smith is coming in the draft next year, and that's one that's in the back of my mind of watching who might be in position to take him. Cowboys at Bears.
This is the easiest pick if it wasn't the Cowboys. They are the most, trying to remember the word I'm looking for, split personality team. But I think the Bears are such a dumpster fire. I'm going to give the edge to the Cowboys but either team winning would not shock me. It's a toilet bowl game, but I think the Cowboys are less bad. They've got a lot better weapons, and quite frankly, a lot better coaching. So I'm going to go with the Cowboys.
Yeah, I like the Cowboys in this one. I think it's interesting because of what Ben Johnson said this week, because of the potential Boo Birds arriving at Midway, if you will, this weekend. I like the Cowboys. I think it's going to be an interesting ball game. We are talking also about two teams that are 2-0 that a lot of folks on much of the country haven't seen much of. We know about the Brock Purdy injury issues. We know a few guys on the Cardinals, but we know they've got some competent coaching and, you know, they're 2-0. So what about the Cardinals at the 49ers?
This is a no-brainer to me. This is the easiest pick you gave me of this week. I don't see a snowball's chance that the Niners lose this game. I think the Cardinals are improved. That isn't a statement, but I think there's too much pride in the 49ers organization. I think there's too many decent players there. I just think they if they lose this game, and they could, but I just don't see it. I just like a lot about the 49ers. I'm riding with the 49ers, and I think it's easily over the Cardinals.
Well, this one does feel a bit like a franchise game. You would say program in college, you say franchise here. This is one where you think that the depth and breadth of the franchise with the coaching staff, with Salah back, everybody carries the day for the 49ers. I note this, Marvin Harrison has 11 targets so far. I think he would need almost 11 targets in this game, but these two teams are 2-0, so it made the list. And this time, we do have an extra point, and it's an extra point of interest only because of where these ball clubs stand. And quite frankly, the one that the Jaguars let get away last week. So we have the 0-2 Texans coming in desperate as could be for a W at the Jacksonville Jaguars, who are an underachieving 1-1. This seems such an obvious pick that it becomes interesting because a lot of times in the NFL, especially in the regular season, the more obvious it seems, sometimes it flipperoos on you. I got to go with the Parcells rule here. The Texans have to win this game, period. They have to. They must win. Texans.
I'm taking the Jags easy here. And I love Houston. Oh,
well, they're in trouble if they lose. I mean,
right, let me just say this to you. Hold on a minute. If this were at home, I'm taking Texans all day, every day. But it's not. And I do think the Jags are improving. I think Liam Cohn has done a really, really good job. But
good.
But I'm gonna stick with the Jags here. But I think this is a field goal at the end of the game. I could see this being like a 24-21. I could even see it being a 27-28 type game, but it's going to be close. But a Houston win would not surprise me. If it were on the road, I would take Houston. If it's at a neutral site, I would take Houston. But I do think the Jags are improving. I'm going to go with the Jags.
This is, I mean, it's a must win for Houston, but they've got to score points. They know they've got to score points. I'm worried that there's going to be almost a little bit of panic in spots in Houston. They cannot be as confident about their roster as they were at the start of the season. They've played two playoff teams. I think the Rams and Buccaneers, we know they were in the playoffs, and we feel like they're probably going to be playoff teams again unless something gets them way off track. It's hard to judge Houston, but let's just call it what it is. They look like they are underachieving so far. They look like they are not as good as we thought they were. And they look like they are headed south in a hurry if they can't turn it around and score more than 20 in the low 20s. So this is an interesting game. You could argue that this is more interesting than the Cardinals and Niners. I'm fascinated in this one because all of a sudden Trevor Lawrence is deeper into his career than it feels like. Maybe there's some injury and there's big playoff wins, some upset coaching. But for those of us that thought with the man with the big head that's got the giant mural 30 miles from where I am on the side of the wall in Cartersville, Georgia, we're waiting for him to take off. Maybe this is a stage for it to take off. But on the other side, if you go by that Parcells rule, the Texans cannot afford to lose. There's more pressure on them not to lose in this one. Let's look for a phenomenal game down in Jacksonville.
I apologize. I didn't mean to interrupt you. I think the Jags are improved, and I think Houston, which is a good team, I think they're pressing right now. I think they're playing not to lose rather than playing to win. Saban once told me that you have to cut the game down into small pieces because you can notice when, and he used to do this before he left LSU, is he said he lost a lot of games early in his career because he'd get a lead and then play not to lose. And you have to play to win. And that's my concern with Houston. I'm all in on D'Amico. I love D'Amico. I love the team. I love everything about Houston. I just think right now they're playing not to lose, and that's a concern. And again, goes back to a guy who is a first-time coach, so he's learning how to go through this. Now, you go to Houston to be a first-time coach. You don't go to Dallas. But so I get it. I think they ride this storm. I go with Jacksonville. John, thanks for joining us. We'll look forward to seeing you again next week, brother.
See you then.